Okay, so while all of its competitors were burning billions of dollars in the AI arms race, Apple was, well, they were strangely quiet. But a wild series of events just kind of happened, turning them into this accidental hardware kingpin, and it's triggered the biggest leadership shakeup the company has seen in over a decade. So let's unpack Apple's massive AI reboot and figure out what it all means for the future.
And that brings us to this fascinating quote. One AI commentator put it this way: Apple really nailed AI by doing nothing. I mean, think about that. While everyone else was setting billions on fire to build these massive AI models, how could Apple possibly have won just by sitting on the sidelines?
And that's really the big question here, isn't it? Was Apple's recent success some kind of masterclass in strategic patience, or was it just a case of being in the right place at the right time? A total happy accident? And, more importantly, what does their brand new leadership tell us about their real plan to win this next phase of the AI revolution?
To really get where Apple is going, we have to understand the very, very strange journey they've been on. So let's take a look at how their total inaction right after ChatGPT's launch somehow, almost magically, turned into a huge strategic advantage for them.
It was honestly a wild ride. So after ChatGPT launched, Apple did, well, pretty much nothing. They eventually announced Apple Intelligence, but the key features we were all waiting for, like a genuinely smarter Siri, got delayed. A lot of people started counting them out. But then, in early 2026, this new open-source tool called the OpenClaw agent framework just appeared. It let developers run these powerful AI agents on their local machines, and it just so happened to run best on Apple Silicon. All of a sudden, developers everywhere were rushing out to buy Mac Minis to use as their dedicated AI hardware. And just like that, Apple, almost without even trying, became a central player in the AI hardware game.
So, what do you make of all that? Well, on one hand, you have folks like Professor Alex Amos, who argue this was classic Apple genius. He says they knew their real strength was always in hardware, so they just deliberately waited for the incredibly expensive AI model race to play out. Then you have the other, more skeptical view, which is that this was just dumb luck, the result of doing nothing, which, by pure chance, happened to pay off in a massive way.
But whether you believe it was genius or luck, this accidental win absolutely set the stage for the biggest leadership shakeup at Apple in 15 years, the big transition from CEO Tim Cook to the company's hardware chief, John Ternus.
And this quote right here, it's pretty harsh, but it really highlights how a lot of people in the tech world were feeling. Commentators like Polymath argued that under Tim Cook, Apple had everything they needed for AI dominance. All that user data, their own custom silicon, Siri, and they completely fumbled the opportunity. This really frames why a big change in leadership was seen as not just good, but absolutely necessary.
And wow, the shift in style couldn't be clearer. Tim Cook was the ultimate operator, right? A total master of supply chains who really preferred safe iteration over risky innovation. And hey, he grew the company's market cap an incredible 11 times. John Ternus, on the other hand, comes straight from the hardware side and is known for being decisive. Sources say he got the top job precisely because the company's product strategy was seen to have completely missed the boat on AI. This line from an anonymous Apple source just says it all. The big critique of the Cook era was this lack of decisive bets, especially in AI. The hope with Ternus is that he will finally make those tough calls needed to actually compete. It's a fundamental change in philosophy, from operational excellence to real, product-driven conviction. So, what does it actually mean to put a hardware chief in charge of a company that's facing its biggest AI moment ever? Well, it signals a very clear, very powerful bet on what Apple has always done best. And this hardware-first strategy is going to directly affect the products we all use every day. We can probably expect much tighter AI integration into new iPhones and Macs, with way more processing happening right on your device for better privacy. This puts a huge focus on their custom M-series chips and means that new AI features will become major selling points for hardware upgrades. And yeah, this might be their best shot to finally deliver the smart, proactive Siri that we've all been wanting for years. But of course, Apple isn't operating in a bubble here. This big hardware-first bet is a direct response to the very different strategies being deployed by all of their biggest rivals. So let's break down the competitive landscape. Each of these tech giants is making a completely different bet. You've got Apple going all in on this hardware-first model, really leveraging its closed ecosystem. Then there's Google with a software-first approach, creating an internal strike team to take advantage of its massive code base. Amazon is playing the infrastructure game, just pouring billions into external labs like Anthropic to run on AWS. And Meta is focused on a pure infrastructure build-out, literally training a workforce to build out its data centers.
So, when you boil it all down, two very different philosophies really start to emerge. Apple's hardware-centric strategy is all about controlling the entire experience, from the silicon chip all the way up to the software interface, with privacy and seamless integration as its core advantages. Its rivals, on the other hand, are making this massive infrastructure-heavy bet, aiming to build the incredible scale and raw computing power that they hope will underpin the entire AI economy.
Which brings us right to this moment. Appointing John Turnus isn't just a leadership change, it's Apple choosing its path in this incredibly high-stakes race. So let's lay out the key risks and the big opportunities of this new direction. Look, the opportunities are immense. Apple can leverage its 2.5 billion users, push a really powerful privacy narrative with on-device AI, and create experiences that its rivals simply can't match. But the risks are just as real. They are still playing catch-up on the core AI models. A singular focus on hardware could create strategic blind spots, and their closed ecosystem, while it's a huge strength, could also stifle innovation compared to the more open approaches we're seeing from their competitors. So we're left with this massive question. As the AI revolution accelerates, which playbook is actually built to last? Is it Apple's tightly controlled hardware fortress? Is it Google's formidable software army? Or is it the sprawling infrastructure empires being built by Amazon and Meta? Honestly, only time will tell.